is going to have a real good job here for the next 20 years, and he's going to be president someday and all the other stuff that goes along with it. Now, these are just specifications. They haven't even gotten to whether you're going to be eligible or not. Now, let's talk about if you're going to be eligible. This one is confusing. However, I'll read it. Basically, what it's going to do is going to net out to be the FHA Formula 1. Do you remember FHA Formula 1 this morning? A part of the formula was pity plus half point plus maintenance plus utilities divided by net should not be more than 0.35, but in no case should be more than 6.0. Remember the 3.5 figure? All right. It says here, determine, now this is just to see if you're eligible. You have to take 2 steps. It says, determine the minimum loan amount under Section 203 and calculate the total housing expense using level annuity, all that garbage. All it says is use Formula 1, Part A. Okay? It says, in the event the housing expense exceeds 0.35%, the applicant may be processed under the new program. This is kind of a reversal, isn't it? It's saying if you're hurting a little bit, that's the guy we want. If you have a 0.35 ratio or lower, that means you got a pretty good income, doesn't it? And we're not going to let you in, buddy. And it's kind of reversal. And it's kind of black is white, white is black, all right?
How come Reagan hasn't knocked this out yet?
He's been sick.
That's right. That's right. Give him a break. Okay. Well, potentially, by the way, I'm putting you through this. This does have the, especially if you are going to new home projects, etc., FHA approved stuff, this has the potential, as you will see, believe me, to be an extremely explosive program. I mean, deals written left and right with this one. Okay? The problem is nobody understands it. There are very few agents out there that really understand it. Those agents that do can make a lot of money. Really, a lot of money. Okay, number 2. It says, excuse me, calculate the maximum mortgage available under the existing 245A program, Plan 3, and determine whether or not the borrower has the cash or assets that can readily be converted to cash, such as stocks or bonds. What they're saying is that if you have a lot of cash, hey, we're not letting you in this thing. We're going to put you in the regular 245 program. Why should we let you into this special thing? So it's almost management by exception, isn't it? Huh? All right. C is the actual program itself. Now, notice on your sheet, I'm going to hold mine up. Notice on your sheet, it says 7.5%, okay, increase for 5 years. That's like just like the Plan 3, isn't it? See what I circled here at 12%? Circle this in your books, just like I have it. Basically, this is the method to do the calculation. Remember how you were griping about that, do A and B and then figure out which one? This is another one. Look what that says. It says the lesser of 203 or 96.86 something. Everybody, you see that? When we get to that, we'll come across that later. Anyway, turn the page and notice that I told you that that's the program. There are really 2 programs, but I want you to X this part off your book, the 4.9%, for 2 reasons. One, it doesn't work out very well, and the second, as of today, which is, what's today, 15th of April? As of today, these loans are not being accepted into a Ginnie Mae pool. So, no one's going to accept them anyway, all right? Okay, now, if we're all on page 104, let's do an example. Now, if you look at your books, you will notice in the example, okay, you'll notice in D, it says example, we're on page 104 now. Notice I'm going to change the problem just a little bit, aren't I? I'm going to say cash on hand 5,000 instead of 7. Why? Because you'll see later. And I changed the interest rate up a little, that's all.
It says 5,000.
Cash on hand 5,000.
So it says
It used to be 7.
Oh, our book says 5,000.
No, it doesn't. Remember our problem had 7,000 cash on hand?
Our original problem we were working.
Okay, all right. Anyway, the first thing we have to ask ourselves, Grace, is, since you brought yourself to my attention.
Sorry.
Sorry you did that now. Okay, what's the first thing in FHA we always have to ask ourselves?
The seller's paying
Is the seller paying any closing costs? Because we have to determine acquisition costs. This is no different. We have a $65,000 sales price. We add $1,550 to get acquisition costs, don't we? Acquisition cost comes out to be $66,550. Then if you'll notice, it said, work it, see where B and C are? B, do you know where we got B? B comes from B1 on page 102, if you want to make a note next to it. From B1 on page 102. It will help you refer back. That says work it out for FHA Formula 1. So anyway, we work out the 203 loan amount, and then you can see in C here, I gave you the formula, and then in D, well there's no D, but at the top of page 105, thank you Johnny, on the top of 105 I even worked all this out for you. Do you remember that net figure, Grace? See that 201370? Does that look familiar from this morning?
Yes, it does.
Okay. That's where we took gross minus the federal tax, right, to get net. You can see it works out, it comes out at 466. Now, Grace, is he going to be eligible?
No.
Yes, it's a reversal. Remember, he's hurting a little bit, isn't he? He's over the 3.5. I know, it's confusing. Listen, I teach it.
Less than 60.
I thought you meant was he eligible for the 203?
Yeah, that's exactly what they would do. If he was under 3.5, they'd make him go 203, wouldn't
But he's not eligible for 203, but he is for 205.
they? For 245, Plan B, right. He is because he's hurting a little bit, isn't he? He's over the 3.5.
What is the ratio for this? Have you told us?
Above 3.5.
Remember from this morning?
Yeah, but I mean in this particular one, how high can,
Yeah, how high can he get?
Well, as long as he's over 3.5,
he
he
could
now
be
becomes...
75?
Huh?
He could be way up there? You wouldn't know?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, he would still be eligible, right. Yeah, he
Anything
still has to
else?
profile out eventually. You're right. I mean, he's still, at some point, I mean, he can't, you know. All right, they're not going to let him go crazy on this. Step 2 is nothing more than B2. That's where this comes from. B2 on page 103? No, 102. B2 on page 102. This is where step 2 comes from. Now, let's look what they do here. That says, work it out like a 245A, and let's see how much cash you have, buddy. If you got too much, we're not letting you in. No fun, but...
Well, we only had $5,000.
Right.
Right?
Look when you get down in step 2,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Look in step 2, when you work it out, it shows he needs $5,200 plus closing cost. Is he going to be eligible? Yes, he is.
He is?
He is because he doesn't have enough money, right? We can put him in this. I know, it's like a nail.
He doesn't have enough money, so he's eligible.
That's right. Black is white, white is black. You know, just like Alice in Wonderland here.
I would expect FHA to come up.
Yeah, right, you're absolutely right.
What do I know what understands this?
Now, that's right. That's right. Even
So all
lenders
we
have
have
a
to do is-
difficult time. Why do you think they have FHA? They have a tough time.
He has
When I
more
don't you see
money.
when I ask questions down there at times they it's you know well you know we think so. I don't want too much on tape here. Huh?
But if he has too much money, then he can just go out and spend his money so he can qualify, right?
Well, if you have too much money, what they're going to say, we're not going to let you in this special program. We only have a certain amount of funds allocated for it. We'd prefer if you do the regular 245 program. Okay, now we're almost finished. Now, we only have half a page left. Children.
I just wanted to have
Yeah.
people who don't tell you how much money they have. Is there anything that says you have to tell me everything you have in this?
Yeah, because when it finally gets underwritten, yes, that's a good question, because if you don't accurately qualify him at present contract presentation time, it's ratified, the deal goes down to FHA and they kick it out because he has more money than what he put. You have a problem. One, he could lose his down payment, but I mean, on the other hand, everybody is very unhappy, right? Your fiduciary relationship being to the seller who now is out on the street. Okay. All right, let's move on though, because we only got half a page left here in this little thing. Now it says that we've determined that he's eligible. Let's do this dirty deed, all right? So, what we do, it says step 4. Now, A and B, draw a double hook line between A and B, because you got to compare them. Okay? A and B come from page, you can make a note there. A and B come from page 103, 12%. That's where you circled, okay? If you want to turn back to 103, let's look at 103, what you circled. You see what it says? It says lesser of 203B or 96.86 of value. value is the same thing as acquisition cost, isn't it? All right, so anyway, let's flip back. I just want to show you where this stuff is coming from. There is a definite trail here. It's just finding the trail that makes it fun. All right. Notice here, it said lesser of 203. So we work it out as a 203, and we get 63.7 loan amount. Is everybody on the same wavelength here? Any problems with that? No. Okay. Then it says in B, we work it out taking the acquisition cost times 96.86, and we get 64,450. We take the lesser one, which in this case works out to be A, doesn't it? 63.7. Now, let's look at that. 63.7, that's not bad, is it? The sales price was 65. So here we have a case where a guy only has to put $1,300 down. Now let's look at D, and we're going to work out the P&I. Now, in D, this is the final note you'll have to make here. It says 63.7 times 7.9138. I want you to put that number, I want you to draw a little line down to the bottom of the page and write about 7 or 8 words right below 7.9138. It's an explanation of where this came from. It's not in the book. Corresponds to 11.5% figure, comma, 7.5960, comma, on page 98. Now, the reason I have you put that there, if you were to turn to page 98, those figures, that page is just for 11.5%, not 12%.
I don't know if that's right.
But that's what it corresponds to. It corresponds to 11.5% figure, comma, 7.5960, comma, on page 98. Do you see, everybody follow what I did here? The only reason is I don't have any tables here at 12%. If you were to tomorrow wake up and say, gee, I wonder where that 7.91 figure came from, okay, that would be a real mind bender because you'd never find it in this book. But if you have tables at 12%, which you don't have, you will. Now notice the final thing here before we finish 245. It says the payment is $504 a month. So let's look at what's happened. We got a very low monthly payment combined with a very low down payment. Heck of a program, isn't it? But it's a heck of a program only if you can fit within their parameters, which is tough. But for that new buyer out there, believe me, you could write a deal, bam, like that. I mean, there's, you know, okay. Now,
The points on that, it's the same as.
well, they would be the same. That's right. Right.
We have 8 points.
What?
8 today.
Is that 8 today?
15% interest
Oh, it
rate.
can't be 8
plus
today.
I thought
Rate
you
change.
said 8.
And the points would be.
No, the points would be somewhere probably around 5 or so. Yes, that sounds
Well,
about
5
right.
for
Because the rate just
203
changed.
yesterday.
Huh?
It was 5 for 203
Yeah, but see,
yesterday.
with the half point differential, the point should be about the same for this.
That's true too.
Okay? Which in effect makes the points 9, doesn't it, in terms of yield?
Can you have a,
All right.
you can have a co-mortgagor on this one? Co-mortgagee?
But they can't own any other property.
The co-mortgagor would be, yes, it would be very difficult to pull off, because that's good, I'm glad you brought that up. Because he couldn't own any other property.
Oh, but suppose it's a lady and a child.
Lady can't own anything then.
I would have to say you probably, I don't know the answer to that, I will get the answer for you then.
I've got a.
Okay, yeah, give me a buzz, we'll have to, I'll call down there for you. All right, now turn to page 106, and you all, big pros, you know a lot about creative financing. Look, basically the way we're going to do this is if you have any questions. There are several things that I want to talk about. You will notice, okay, in a creative financing thing, that there's basically, what, 4 categories, okay, that we can talk about. Seller holding the first and second trust. Is there anybody here that really, with your experience level, has any questions on this particular range? Okay, all right. Wraps, I'll put off for a minute. Land contracts and land trust. There is a wealth of material in here, especially on land contracts. Now, I have very peculiar feelings on this that are not really that peculiar. There is a definite legal problem here, okay, and there's a broker problem. I do not want to be accused of acting as a broker, and that's why I do not really teach it. It's here. If you have a question, you want to ask me something about it, give me a